8 weeks after Hurricane Helene devastated western North Carolina, conditions for many here have gotten worse. With FEMA hotel vouchers expiring, some families are living in donated trailers alongside the remains of their homes, most without electricity or running water. For the less fortunate, tents. Daily Dow has 2 small children.
It's awful, especially with your kids. It feels like you're really letting them down. It's really cold. It's very uncomfortable. We want to be back in our home so bad. We want to feel a sense of normalcy, and this is so far from normal.
Freezing temperatures and snow means the race is on to find those without heat or fuel. Volunteers say they are stunned at the pace of the recovery.
It's been slow. It's been ineffective. It's been inefficient.
There's no sewer. There's no water. There's no power. There's your answer.
There are still a dozen municipal water systems in western North Carolina that are not functioning. That means porta-johns and bottled water for those who can afford it. Some small-town fire departments are relying on creek water. An orange X marks a house or a car that was searched 2 months ago. 0 means no dead bodies found. The storm killed 103 people in North Carolina and caused an estimated $53 billion in damage.
We go out to North Carolina now, where they have been getting some winter weather. In fact, higher elevations have seen accumulating snow. It has been a cold blast that has been arriving, as many are still in temporary homes after Hurricane Helene. The devastation is far from over as far as picking up the pieces. Fox News multimedia reporter Liviana Calmez is in Asheville, North Carolina. Liviana, we're about 2 months almost removed from this. What's it like there?
Hey Jane, well, we had a lot of heavy snow earlier today. I mean, these temperatures started dropping last night. Now we've got some sunshine that's able to melt some of the snow, but wind is also a big factor of this as well. And Hurricane Helene survivors I spoke with told me that staying warm is really a huge concern here. Like you said, they are in temporary housing, so RVs, tents, and not only that, but if there's tree limbs and things falling, that could create power outages, which is going to slow down this recovery that's still ongoing.
There's a big concern in general for exposure, cold weather injuries and exposure. The big piece is it going to slow down our ability to continue to rebuild and recover the area? There's going to be a concern with regards to just primary care, just access to primary care in the local area for medical. And that's going to be a challenge that we're going to have to deal with real time.
As a side-by-side.
Smith says he's worried funding and donations will dwindle as time goes on. He also said he's spoken to people who don't have any more hotel vouchers, hotel stays from FEMA, don't have anywhere to go, so they're trying to get those folks some RVs. But volunteers around the state have prepared with coats, hats, and gloves and generators to give out.
Whenever they come in to get supplies, one of the first things we ask them, do you have heat? Do you have a way to keep your house warm? Do you have blankets? Do you have winter gear?
You've been through a major tragedy. You don't want to have to just come through there and say, what do I do? And the volunteers at our camp, my wife and I, we just say, let us find you something. We'll find you some heat.
The people who lost their homes to Helene are doing what they can to get through the cold.
Yeah, the snow is coming down. There's also a little bit of a dusting on the ground here in Newland as well. And let me tell you, the temperature is also very brutal. And I've also spoken with a few Hurricane Helene victims that live in this RV park that tell me that they're leaning on each other to get through the storm.
No barking.
Walking her dog before the incoming snowstorm, Jessica Gardner lives in this camper in Newland. She says she's no stranger to extreme weather, especially after living through Hurricane Helene.
I put these things on the camper that are called wobble stoppers, and that has just been amazing because before, every time that the wind blew really strongly, it brought up a lot of post-traumatic stress.
Gardner says she previously lived on a campground in Elk Park, located southwest of Banner Elk. When Helene made its way through western North Carolina in late September, she says it was a storm unlike any other.
It was literally the scariest thing I think I've ever lived through my whole entire life. There was rain that would sheet down, and there was so much rain coming down, and then the wind would come and push it sideways.
When water levels in the Elk River rose, Gardner evacuated.
The river is so incredibly different. The river used to be 20 to 30 feet across, and it was relatively shallow, and I go fishing in the summertime, and I've walked through the river, and the river came up to my mid-thigh at the deepest place, and now it's well over 100 feet across.
And nearly unrecognizable. Her campground now looks more like a beach. Today, she's relocated to the Big Mike's Creekside RV Resort in Newland, where a few other Helene victims are staying.
The people here have been just absolutely amazing. And the sense of community and having so many people around you and being able to talk to other people and share what you've gone through and be there for them when they've gone through something too.
As the snow starts to stick to the ground, Gardner says she and her neighbors are working to winterize their campers.
I've never lived through this cold of a winter with running water in my structure. So it's new, it's different, that's for sure.
And tonight, many residents who lost their homes in Helene are still without a roof to sleep under. And the fear is that setting into this temperature as it drops, it could be really tiresome for a lot of folks out there. Luckily, there are people working hard to keep others warm.
WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker was on the mountain tonight. He has a story sure to warm your heart.
As cold weather sets in and snow is expected to fall in our mountain communities Thursday, many are fearful after they lost their homes in Helene. Many residents still living in tents with limited to no heat and without running water, but there are groups working to help. Heather Newhart lives in north central Pennsylvania. She traveled down to Avery County after the storm hit and joined with Samaritan's Purse. She quick saw the need for campers or tiny homes, so she formed a group called Compassionate Campers with no experience in nonprofit work, but driven by the passion to help those in need. Newhart is partnering with the Big Meadow Baptist Church, who is boots on the ground. She says since she started, the support has been overflowing.
We had a woman generously donate her motorhome last week that she then was so moved because she came with us to do the deliveries. The delivery for hers went to a widow that lost her home. She was so moved, she went out this week and bought 3 campers.
She says in just a few weeks, they've raised $100,000 and given out 20 campers. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we introduce you to Larry. He lost everything in Helene, swept away by those very floodwaters. But now, because of these strangers, this story is very different.